Messiah. I have the honor and pleasure to serve as the DeKalb County Commissioner, District 3, along with the Chair of PECS, Planning, Economic Development, and Community Services Committee. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I serve along with Commissioner Terry from District 6 and Commissioner Longspears from District 2. Those in attendance would be myself and Commissioner Terry, but I'm certain we'll have some other commissioners that will join us eventually. Commissioner Longspears is coming in as well. She's a part of the committee as also. And Commissioner Patrick is going to be joining us as well during this committee. With that, we will get started on the agenda as printed on page 1 with the minutes. And if you have an opportunity to read the minutes, can you please give me a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is that for both ones?
Yes.
Do both if you'd like.
Yes, that would be agenda items ending in 1619 and also agenda items ending in 1646.
Motion to approve 1619 and 1646.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, and we also have an interview for an appointment to the Perimeter Community Improvement District Board, so the Perimeter CID Board, and that is for Mr. Nicolosi, so there you go. Thank you so much, Mr. Nicolosi. If you wouldn't mind joining us, you feel free to hop on the back podium. Let's make sure that mic is on for him. And we appreciate you taking your time to join us today and your willingness to serve.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, can you start by just telling us a little bit about yourself and what you believe makes you great and right to be a part of this particular board, what you hope to bring?
So first, I've been in the mall retail business for over 20 years. I managed North Lake Mall a while back and served on the North Lake LCI, or the North Lake Community Alliance, sorry. It's going back a bit, which I think transitioned into the Tucker CID. So, I've had experience in DeKalb. Was in Alpharetta for many years trying to work on a redevelopment for North Point. It's still pending. We got one fully approved in 2019. Construction was supposed to start in 2020, and you know what hit then. I took the opportunity to come down to work at Perimeter, come back to work for the company that used to own North Point. So I love the business I'm in. Currently, I also serve on the Planning Commission for Gwinnett County. I'm appointed by Commissioner Kirkland Carden, District 1. So this will be, 2025 will be the third full year I've served on the Gwinnett County Planning Commission. I've also been on a board member of the True North 400 CID based in Alpharetta for around 3 years. So, I have a passion for economic development and planning, and I love the industry I'm in, and would love the opportunity to serve as well on the Perimeter CID board.
Thank you so much for that. And can you just share, if you're appointed or as an appointee to the Perimeter CID board, what would you identify as your top priorities for promoting responsible growth, fiscal accountability, and long-term stability within the CID area, which you'll serve?
So I think, first and foremost, transportation is key, getting people to and from jobs. And, I've known Ann Hanlon, the executive director, for years because she was on the True North 400 CID or Greater North Fulton CID. So I think transportation for me is number one, and is a priority. As the area densifies too, some of these office spaces are going to be converted to residential units. Hopefully that conversion is going on, and it's taking. It's gaining steam across the metro area, and there's plenty of office product to backfill. I think pedestrian transportation and mobility is going to be key as well. And one of the big challenges with the city of Atlanta or the Atlanta Metro, which really is a challenge for all cities, counties, municipalities, is the traffic on the road. I remember hearing Commissioner GDOT Commissioner Russell McMurray saying about a year and a half ago, we can't grow our way out of this problem. We have to manage our way. And by managing it, I think you talk about local transportation, local housing initiatives, trying to locate people more closer to work instead of having them drive, 20 miles for an hour. That's just not, it's not productive for us. It's not productive for the employees. It's not productive for, the taxpayer, right? So I think transportation, housing are some of the two biggest things that are very important to the perimeter CID's future. And I think you asked a third question, right?
Yes, well, I mean, it was essentially what you've done a great job so far, just trying to, make sure that those important questions that you have actually, considered them. You'd be surprised sometimes they're not, but the last was just around the long-term stability, but I think that you touched on that and then communicated just the level set experience that you have, the passion that you have, and the commitment that you will bring to this role. So I appreciate you for all of that. With that, are there any other committee members? Commissioner Lung-Spears has a question.
Sure. You touched on some of my question, but specifically, how do you plan to leverage your expertise to support the CID strategic initiatives, such as improving transportation and mobility, enhancing public spaces? If you could talk a little bit about public art, too, that'd be great, and fostering private investment that benefits DeKalb County as a whole.
So I think, on the leveraging, my experience on the CID, on the True North 400 CID, similar, project going on 400, the BRT express lanes, right? So I know the challenge on the perimeter CID is not going to be the BRT stations that will actually be built on 400 and sit there when MARTA gets ready, until MARTA gets ready. But the challenge, I think, in the perimeter CID is going to be bus access, because the express lanes, will not. They'll let off at a station, but people have to get there. So I think microtransit is going to be something I think we need to focus on, and I know that the perimeter CID is focusing on that. In District 1 in Gwinnett County and Gwinnett County as a whole, there was a T-SPLOS that didn't pass. Microtransit was a big part of that. So being on the Planning Commission, understanding microtransit, getting people that last mile or last half mile is going to be very important. And I think my background in planning and being on other boards, I'll be able to leverage that experience. As far as public art, Alpharetta had quite a bit of public art. We had planned some for a North Point redevelopment. It didn't happen yet, but I see examples of public art here in the perimeter CID area and in DeKalb County. One notably is Campus 244. If you enter that project, I don't know how they got MARTA to agree, but there's a nice mural on the MARTA train line above as you enter in, and I think we should leverage more opportunities to use public public property for public art, and I think that's something that I could help the CID execute upon. And I think the other question was long-term stability for DeKalb County and in the area. I think Dunwoody, that corridor, 485. I think that corridor is great, and if you look at it, all of the best shopping centers and retail centers are really located along that corridor. So it's definitely a plus for DeKalb County to have perimeter. You have Lenox, Phipps, and Buckhead. Ponce City Market, you could argue, is on that same corridor. You go above the river, there was North Point, now there's Avalon. So being on that 485 corridor is very valuable. And I think with the future of Atlanta, the whole entire metro region, like I said before, we can't continue to grow our way out of traffic issues. We have to manage it. So I think there's a huge potential for DeKalb County, and you can look at, Alula Hills is an example, North Point or North Lake Mall being redeveloped. Huge potential to densify and infill those areas so that you can locate people closer to those that economic center of 485.
Thank you. And just a quick follow-up. I see in your short bio that you live in Gwinnett County.
I do.
Attorneys, that's not an issue, is it? It's more of a technical question for this appointment to the Perimeter CID Board. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. And in case you didn't hear, sir, our law department will look into that.
Yeah.
You sound wonderful. I just want to make sure that it is not a requirement that you reside in our county.
No,
Thank you.
totally understood.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Long Spears. Commissioner Terry, do you have any questions? Thank you so much, Commissioner Patrick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nick, it's good to see you again.
Yes, sir.
I just want to acknowledge that your phenomenal background, your position as, I believe, the managing partner of Perimeter Mall is going to be very valuable experience specific to the CID within Dunwoody. So thank you very much for your willingness to serve, and we appreciate you a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Okay.
so much for being here with us today, Mr. Nikolowski. And we will have someone from Central Staff, Shannon, will follow up with you later. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you very much.
So the next item on the agenda for those following on, we're still on page 1, and at the bottom of page 1, and that is a discussion presentation from DeKalb regarding the TAD financials, the TAD financials, and that's going to be presented by Vice President Tiffany Wills. I did see President DeBar here. Do we need to wait for him to return, or?
Unfortunately, he had a conflict and had to leave at 2:30.
Okay.
He said if you all have any questions, he'll get in touch with you all direct.
Thank you so much, and we'll just try to keep it brief into those financials. That way, we'll have him to come back if we need to and expound upon anything else. Thank you so much. With that, take it away.
Perfect. So our Q3 2025 financial update ends on September 30th. So these numbers are valid up until that point, but it doesn't include any tax revenue that's been collected since. Just to bring your attention to current total assets are just under $29.1 million. We have $53,000 in current liabilities, and our special fund balance between the DeKalb County held assets and Decide DeKalb assets is $29 million. For the first 3 quarters of the year, we've accumulated approximately $1.3 million in the tax increment revenue, additional $200,000 in interest earned, and then $167,000 in expenses for net annual income to date of $1.3 million. So we have received 2 new, or we made 2 awards by our board of directors in September, one in Avondale, Columbia Drive, and then also in Southwest DeKalb. Those awards totaled just under $6.1 million, one of which is a PAYGO reimbursable award, and then the other is in the form of a grant and loan. Additionally, we have now a total of 7 pending applications across all 5 tax allocation districts, and those requested funds is approximately $19.8 million. Just to provide a breakout of the eligible applications that we're currently reviewing, we see about 60% of those costs, definitely your higher cost projects, have been for public infrastructure and improvements, followed by residential, which of course would be the cottages at Midway that we'll visit shortly, and then 18% of the funding has been requested for mixed-use developments that include commercial and residential. So the first project that we've awarded in Avondale's TAD is Cottages at Midway. The Board of Commissioners did approve rezoning for this project earlier this year, so you all should be somewhat familiar. This property is going to redevelop 2.1 acres of residential single-family lots into an 18-unit cottage homeownership development. 66% of the units will be set aside for households earning up to 120% AMI, with 33% being unrestricted for market rate purchasers. Our TAD award is approximately $2.3 million, and we were able to be flexible in underwriting the feasibility of the transactions, so that funding has been split into a subordinate loan that will be repaid at the sale of each homeowner unit, also a grant that will not be repaid, and then a forgivable subordinate loan, which will act as a form of down payment assistance for those mixed income buyers. And the second project we awarded in September is for Candler Crossing. Again, this is another rezoning that was approved by the Board of Commissioners earlier this year. This sits at the corner of Candler and Glenwood, and the property is approximately 7 acres and is being redeveloped into a grocery-anchored shopping center, which has been now formally announced to be a Publix. And it'll also have a detached retail building that has about 11,000 square feet. And one of those units, about 2,000 square feet, is being set aside for a affordable commercial tenant to be able to rent those spaces at 60% of the market rents for the first 5 years. And then that will increase for the second set of 5 years for a 10-year term of affordability. And I'll take any questions.
Thank you so much, VP Wells. Thank you for your time. Are there any questions from the committee members? Commissioner Terry?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Director Wills, for the update. In reference to the TAD advisory committees, have we worked out all the details on how that's moving forward? Do we have like a final draft of what the the whole setup will look like?
Yes. So our executive director, Mr. Dorian DeBar, has been working with many of the commissioners and also county law. And our board of directors is essentially all new seats, I think, with the exception of 2 members. So President DeBar is now socializing the TAD advisory committees, the structures, much of what we've been reviewing with you all the last year. And we hope to have those committees approved and created during the first quarter of the new year.
All right. Well, I'm just going to state for the record that we have been waiting for the TAD advisory committees to be worked on for I feel like it's been 2 years now. So every time I keep hearing it'll be soon, and then it'll be next quarter, then it turns into the next quarter, and then the next quarter. And I think fundamentally we haven't actually I don't think it's that complicated. I mean, all we have left it with is that in some of the TAD boundaries, there are almost no residential properties. So if we were to try to appoint a resident, it would be impossible, virtually impossible. And so if we could I think everyone agrees to the concept of having a TAD advisory committee. That was a big thing that came out of the creation of the Market Square TAD. I mean, that literally was one of the stipulations of creating the Market Square TAD. So if we could just hone in on the language and just clearing up sort of this, can someone who lives within a mile or whatever, number of feet. I don't think it's a legal question. I think it's more just, is everyone good with it? And I think we're all good with it. So hopefully the socialization can be done this quarter, I guess, and it could be early Q1 of next year. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Terry. Commissioner Long-Spears?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and Vice President Wills. As always, thank you so much for being here. I'm glad to see our TADs are doing so well. Just to provide a little bit more context to Commissioner Terry's question and hope that we have these advisory committees up and running by early next year, I feel very confident that CEO DeBar will be in a good place in order to us to activate, that's the word I like to use, that activate these, what do y'all call them, TAD acts?
Yes.
TAD Advisory Committee. I really even like the acronym. But this has been ongoing for quite some time. It has been about 2.5 years. I am sensitive to the fact that Mr. DeBar does have new board members, and there is a lot to educate these folks on. Please do just let him know I'm willing to work behind the scenes as needed. Now, Ms. Wills, there is a need for a vote, correct? As well, would decide DeKalb on this?
Board of Directors will need to vote
Okay.
to both create the TAD advisory committees and then appoint the members.
Okay, fantastic. Do you happen to know when that vote might be?
Our regular scheduled meetings are the second Thursday of the month, so I don't know if it will be January, February, or March, but that's likely when the votes would take place.
Okay, so I know a few of us up here might love if you guys could shoot for the first meeting of the year. So would that be, you said the third Thursday of January, is that right?
Second Thursday.
Second Thursday of January. And then once we get there, and hopefully your board embraces this idea and votes it through, we'll have the opportunity to submit a appointee, right? And would that go to you or to Mr. DeBar, or will y'all provide us additional information after that vote takes place?
I believe it would go to Mr. DeBar,
Okay.
but I'm sure that those details will be fleshed out before that vote.
And just to confirm, each of us, like I have 2 TADs in my district, so I can get I can propose an appointee for each TAD, right?
Correct.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. Good to see you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Long-Spears. Commissioner Patrick?
No questions at this time, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I do have just one or two. VP Wills, just as it relates to the affordable commercial space in those 11,000 square foot, 2,000 of which is going to be affordable commercial space. How is DeKalb determining who to lease that commercial space to? Like, what is the process? Has it been like announced to the public where entrepreneurs can, apply and sort of take advantage of that yet? Or how is it being determined who will be able to take advantage of that affordable commercial space?
So we are working on the details of that process between the developer and property owner identifying applicants and how they'll be vet and confirmed based off of revenue of their existing business. So as we're working through finalizing the development agreement before the Christmas break holiday, I'll be able to give you a definite answer for that at our next meeting.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. We have a number of vacant commercial spaces throughout District 3, for instance, and just very interested in, what that process is to make sure that we don't have unnecessarily excess or additional. I know you guys are doing your due diligence and your work to prevent that from happening, but I'm just curious. So I thank you so much for that. And then as it relates to, just briefly, because I think somebody mentioned something related to the board, I think that there is another, there's an appointment, a replacement that we'll need to make as well, based on Mr. Horton's departure.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And do you happen to know, I thought that came from, is that from the CEO or from the Board of Commissioners? Do you know where that?
I'll have to defer to President DeBar. I'm not sure on who makes that recommendation.
Okay, fantastic. Well, those are all the questions that I have. And that's it. Thank you so much, VP Wills, as always, for being here with us and sharing this information. We're always very interested to get these updates and, to see what these TAD dollars are doing to help the community. And I know you guys are working hard to make sure that that's a reality. So thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon.
You too. Thank you. All right. And we're going to just briefly circle back to the appointments, and particularly Mr. Nick Nicolosi. And
Motion to approve item 1617.
Madam Chair, if law could provide some guidance on that, is that an issue that Nick is a Gwinnett County resident? Are we good to go?
We're still reviewing that particular community improvement district. Has 4 different sets of enabling legislation, so we want to make sure we give you an accurate answer. Traditionally, just for information, the individual sitting in the seat of manager of Perimeter Mall has had a seat on that board. This is the first time we've been asked the residency question that goes along with that. So we're looking, we'd be perfectly fine with a motion to approve pending further information or whatever the board's will is, but Ms. Agner's back in the office looking at those documents right now.
If I may,
Yes.
Madam Presiding Officer, if I may add, I think Dunwoody also had made a addition to that community CID, and so that may be one of their positions that is viewed as a Dunwoody appointment. So that
Okay.
that may address the concern. And I also know that there are some conditions within the CIDs that say as long as your business is based within the district, that is the residency component that gets fit.
All right, I'll amend my motion to approve pending further information before we vote at the full board. Thank you.
Second.
I have a proper first and second. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you so much. And now we're going to get to the next agenda item. This one's on page 2. This is coming from Planning Sustainability. It is agenda item ending in 1458, all commission districts. The application of the Director of Planning Sustainability to accept into the record the DeKalb County Urban Tree Canopy Assessment and to adopt the study's recommendations. Great afternoon. How you doing today? Mr. Reed, thank you.
Press the button. Okay,
Yes,
there we go.
thank you.
You couldn't hear me. Good afternoon, everyone. Before you is a resolution to accept into the record this recently completed urban tree canopy assessment report and to adopt the recommendations that came out of that study. So today I'm going to go over the study just a little bit. I'm going to touch on what some of the recommendations are, and then I will answer questions. So let's see. Next. Okay, perfect. By the way, all of the images are from DeKalb County in this presentation. So just as a little bit of background, earlier this year, the Department of Planning and Sustainability engaged the services of EOC Environmental Group to conduct an urban tree canopy study. And just basically to assess the canopy, the tree canopy in the unincorporated areas of DeKalb County. And we looked at changes that occurred from the years 2010 to 2023 to compare how those changes happened over that period of time. And we looked at the unincorporated areas only, so that's approximately 59% of the entire county. So an urban tree canopy is defined as the layers of trees that are visible from an aerial standpoint and like as you're looking down from like a satellite image. So a tree canopy study basically uses high quality aerial images to determine whether a particular area is covered by tree canopy or by other surfaces. So that might be bare soil, or it could be a grassy area, it could be other herbaceous vegetation, or it could be water, or hard surfaces like buildings or parking lots or roads. So in addition to this use of the high quality aerial imagery, the consultant also used an arborist to visit 200 of the locations that were determined to have some significant changes, just to basically validate the data. So the reason for conducting this study is because our comprehensive plan calls for us to preserve our natural spaces and undeveloped areas and to focus development in areas where it will have the least negative impacts to our natural environment. So this study gives us a baseline, and this is in order to give us a more clear understanding of the current state of DeKalb's urban forest and basically how it's changed over time. And it will allow us to track the tree canopy changes in the future and basically more fully understand the impact of land use decisions, policies, practices around urban forestry management. Basically, it gives us information in order to more effectively plan for the future. All right, so some of the significant findings of the study. DeKalb is a community that is rich in trees. Our report indicates that our trees cover over 60% of the land in unincorporated DeKalb. That actually was a 2% increase from 2010 to 2023 of our tree canopy. So some of the areas where the canopy decreased were mostly in light industrial areas, and it was mostly from recent development, and some of it was from storm damage. And then there were a lot of areas where the canopy increased, and the majority of that occurred because of natural regeneration and then also because of new tree plantings. And another interesting thing that came out of the study, the consultant used a service from the U.S. Forestry Service to quantify the benefits that our urban forest provides. And basically this calculates the amount of air pollution that's removed by our trees, the amount of storm water that our trees absorb, and how much carbon is stored in DeKalb's trees. And from that, they calculated that DeKalb's trees provide over $45 million in economic benefits annually. So just to put these findings into context, keep in mind now that unincorporated DeKalb tends to be somewhat less developed than our cities. But this chart shows a comparison of urban tree canopy coverages from recent studies in some of our neighbors. So we have Dunwoody, Atlanta, Brookhaven, and Decatur. So unincorporated DeKalb is at the top at 60.4% canopy coverage. And then it ranges from Decatur with 57% and on down to Brookhaven, which is at 45%. So I think this shows that we have a longstanding commitment to preserving trees and protecting natural resources, and that our tree conservation policies and practices have been successful. So several recommendations came out of this study. And some can be done sometime in the future, some can be done immediately, and some are going to be ongoing and for the very near future. So one of the recommendations that came out was basically to continue monitoring DeKalb's tree canopy, which basically that means keep collecting data, maintain an updated canopy assessment, and also to consider incorporating some additional technologies such as LIDAR and some ground-based plot sample studies to enhance our data that we have. There are also several planning and policy actions, some of which would be for the very near future, 2026 possibly. One is to set planting and canopy goals, to evaluate our various policies and practices around urban forestry, such as our ordinances and our land use regulations. Also to develop a comprehensive tree management program for the county, and to protect our existing trees through urban forestry best management practices. And some other policy and planning actions that are immediate or ongoing would be to prioritize strategic tree planting, which we're currently doing through our relationship with Trees Atlanta, and also to pursue Tree City USA designation, which I'll speak to more in just a moment, and to align our budget with our goals, which is common sense, and also to invest in training and certifications for our staff. And then a couple of additional recommendations include to continue strategic land acquisitions, and also to involve the public through community engagement, which of course we always strive to do. So the full list of recommendations and all detailed descriptions of exactly, what the study recommends is in the report, and that is housed on our Engage DeKalb project page. And also, if you go to that page, you'll find a really nice story map, which is a really nice summary of the study, and it's a little bit easier to read than the actual study itself, which tends to be data heavy. There's also an interactive map, which is, it has an aerial imagery of DeKalb, and you can look anywhere in unincorporated DeKalb and use a slider tool to compare imagery from 2010 to imagery from 2023. So you can see what changes happened between those two periods of time. And just a quick shout out to the team who worked with me on the story map and the slider tool. Our long range planning team members Eva Chavot, Nicole Marchant, James Burge, and also Leah Ladefian from GIS, who provided some beautiful drone imagery and some GIS support for this project. So our next steps would be one of the immediate actions, and I just want to elaborate on the pursuing Tree City USA designation. This is an excellent opportunity for DeKalb County to further demonstrate our ongoing commitment to DeKalb's natural resources. It's a program of the Arbor Day Foundation, and in spite of the name, counties can qualify to become a Tree City USA. There's benefits to becoming a Tree City USA. One is that it helps add points towards our goal of becoming a platinum status with the ARC's Green Communities program. And also, it's a way of demonstrating our commitment to our community's trees. And I'm in the process of applying for this, so stay tuned on that. So basically, to summarize, trees are vital to maintaining beauty and livability of DeKalb County. And this study will help us to continue a healthy balance between conservation and growth, which, as we know, is essential to maintaining DeKalb's long-term livability and the quality of life for our residents. So thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And I also have with me today David Lee Bradford, our new arborist, as well as Lelty Abra from our land development team to help respond to any additional questions you might have.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here with us, Ms. Reed. I think Commissioner Terry had some questions first, and then Commissioner Long-Spears.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Kathy, for the report. Great work.
Thank you.
For everyone involved. And, certainly support some of the policy and planning action steps. I think it'd be great to be Tree City and Arbor City and Bee City and Pollinator City. We should do all the city county things. If we're already doing them, right? Or if we need to do some policy changes to get that designation, that'd be a great achievement to make. Only concern I have is the part of the report that says we increased the canopy by 2%.
That's correct.
Because the map has, on the Story GIS page, has little red dots for decrease and a green dot for increase. And there's a lot more red dots than there are green dots. So how give me the layman's explanation of how the average person could say, well, we approved a lot of developments in DeKalb County, and these red dots, I think, are probably the developments that have been approved. How could we have so many red dots and not very many green dots, but then see a net increase in tree canopy?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's a little bit confusing, but I think the answer is because the dots represent hexagons that were identified in the study, but one dot might be one tree or it might be 100 trees. So it doesn't exactly, it's showing just like a geographic area where a change occurred, not the number of trees, if that makes sense.
But are you doing it? I mean, you're not counting the trees. You're looking at satellite imagery of tree canopy coverage.
Correct.
So they're trying to fill in basically gaps. Are the gaps from 2010? Have some of those gaps improved? And I guess maybe you could argue that a tree grew in 13 years.
Yes.
And so now that it is covering, its canopy is covering more land.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also a little bit confusing because it shows that we have a decrease in impervious surfaces, which didn't happen. But exactly to your point, if a tree is overhanging a road or a parking lot and it grew in that 10 or 12 year period, then the canopy is going to show an increase, and then the impervious surface is going to show a decrease. We know that didn't actually happen. So, basically it was just the canopy grew. Those trees grew. And that happened in a lot of places.
Okay. And then so it ended in is it the end of 2023? Or just like, was there a midpoint in 2023 that was the stop point of when you started looking at the data? Like the spring of 2023?
I'm not sure exactly what time of year that was done. I believe it was like the middle of the year. Was there a particular thing that happened?
I think the Shadowbox site and the Police Training Center site were developed mostly at the end of 2023 and 2024. That's about 150 acres of forest that basically now is just gone. There's no longer forest there. So I just think that, and maybe this is just like maybe this is like a little add-on to this study, is it would be really good to not just look at canopy, but look at acreage of land in the context of land that was a forest, even if it's a very small forest, a microforest or a big one, and how much of that land is now gone. Some of the work that we've done in my office has basically suggested that about 3% of DeKalb County is undeveloped. And I think that's like the other piece of the equation is tree canopy is good, and that's, urban heat island effect, habitat, shade, etc. But the other sort of ecological issues, I think, come into play with development, mass grading, and replacing a forest with little trees or medium trees. I don't think it's very rare for our tree ordinance to incentivize replacing a forest or keeping a forest, right, or keeping a portion of a forest for stormwater reasons, or instead of planting 10 tiny trees, save 2 big trees. And that's just development patterns. And the ordinance really, I think, in terms of the land development, doesn't really incentivize keeping tree stands. It's more just clear cut everything and then plant back street trees. But I think the general argument and ecological value of a forest is that trees support trees. So if you have one tree here, 20 feet away you have another tree. In theory, eventually those root networks will meet, and then now they're supporting each other. But it could take years, if not decades. And when you destroy an entire forest, you're basically disrupting, 1 million years of the
ecosystem.
It's the fungus network. What do they call the fungus network?
Oh yeah, the microbiome or.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not a biologist, but yeah. So it all supports each other, and I think there's also just in the policy realm of how we need to look at this, the tree replacement strategy, is the reports I've seen is that a certain large percentage of, not large, but a significant percentage of the street trees that are planted as sort of the tree recompense plantings for development die within a certain number of years. And so just trying to, just track the policy that, are we creating, plant a tree and forget about it, or are we trying to actually rebuild an ecosystem? And so instead of thinking about it as a replace certain number of inches of caliper or a certain number of trees it's kind of like in an urban setting, we want shade, but we should be also thinking about the ecological paradigm for supporting new tree plantings within certain areas to help each other live longer, because we want the trees to be healthy and to live because we want them to be full-grown trees.
I am 100% in agreement with every word that you said.
Yes.
And
I know you would.
I glossed over it, but hidden within, implied within some of these action items, evaluating our ordinances and land use regulations, strategic land acquisitions, all of those things, having a countywide tree management program that would have a program in place for care of the trees that we plant beyond the 2-year agreement with Trees Atlanta. Because beyond that, removing invasives where they're, this whole protect our existing trees,
yes,
all of that exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
And so thank you. And we do want to do that. And there's no doubt that planting new trees does not replace an old forest that has all of the history in the soil and everything that is there. There is no way that we can plant enough trees to make up for that. So I think those, as you mentioned, having areas that are maintained or sustained within any kind of a dune development is a great idea to look at when we're looking at some of our land use regulations and our tree ordinance. I absolutely agree with that.
Thank you, Kathy. And then, Madam Chair, just a couple of quick thoughts for future discussion. So I think CEO Williams, I think Director Lemke had said the last tree trimming contract that we had approved that there were the ability for those contractors, whether they're in parks, public works, roads and drainage, instead of just like they would trim limbs, they could also just go in and cut the ivy or the wisteria or the kudzu that's growing up trees that ultimately chokes the tree, and then a tree falls on a road or a house or a person. Mm-hmm. So to me, it was just maybe, to your point, Kathy, like we could support the existing trees by just having an invasive species. And I don't know if that's like a specific contract. I mean, maybe it's something that we should just look at, whether it's an add-on or if the existing contract allows for invasive species to be sort of managed. Just work with parks and public works on particularly areas of right-of-way that, no one's taking care of those trees. They're in the right-of-way, so I guess that's our problem. And then the other thing I wanted to see, just to maybe clarify something that might be a quicker short-term fix that we should consider on a policy matter, is just codifying that the tree bank or the tree recompense fund, that we can accept not just IOUs of tree plantings, but actual dollar amounts that then can be used to buy land to preserve forests. And I think Attorney Welch, I think that was something that y'all had looked into maybe in previous years, about the ability of the tree bank to be not just for planting trees, but to also just simply buy forested land.
Yeah, I think the way it's written now, we might need to revise it, but it's worth looking into to see, what flexibility we have there. The last I looked at it and analyzed the resolution to form the tree bank, we have some restrictions on that, but it's definitely worth looking into and maybe modifying it if we decide we want to collectively decide we want to, spend it for something else.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Williams, would you like to make that suggestion?
I'll yield back.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Long-Spears.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good to see you, as always.
Thank you.
Last time I saw you, you were on a stage.
Yes, that's right. Thank you for coming to that. I appreciate
truly
it. We were celebrating trees
by
that
your
night.
talent. We were celebrating trees, and that was so much fun on a Sunday night, or Monday.
It was a Sunday, yeah.
Sunday night.
Thank you.
All right, so my question is on slide 4. What is the time frame for this data?
Which
Up
one
until
is
when?
Slide, I'm not sure which slide.
The regional comparison.
Oh, the regional comparison. The time.
Canopy coverage regional comparison slide.
Okay, so what's the time frame?
Right, so what is the, I guess, for the data collection?
Right.
This is a point in time, I presume. What point in time? Is it this, I guess, 2025 data?
These are all from whatever the most recent study is from those communities. So
Okay,
they're
so it could
different
be-
dates. Like
it would vary.
None of them are more than 2 or 3 years old.
Okay, so in the last 2 or 3 years.
Probably, yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I was pleasantly surprised and
I
happy
know.
to see that unincorporated DeKalb County is leading the charge.
Yes.
That is awesome. All
It
right.
is.
My next question, and I will be brief because I realize we don't have a lot of time left, is under the policy and planning actions that you have under your 2026 recommendation for evaluation of ordinances and land use regulations. I know that you'll certainly be interacting with the zoning rewrite team.
Yes, that's happening this year, and we'll be hopefully taking trees into consideration on that.
Okay, well, I am so happy that you're doing this, and if there's anything that my office can do or partner with you on or help you introduce a policy item, please do lean into District 2. We're very pleased with your efforts, you as a leader, and so again, thank you for taking this seriously and knowing how important our tree canopy is to our community, as well as I was interested to see the economic impact that you also included in your findings. So thank you. The economic value of unincorporated DeKalb's tree is greater than $45 million.
Right.
It's a big number.
It is a big number. I mean, as an example, the amount of water the trees absorb, and some of the ways they came up with those numbers is like, if we had to build stormwater infrastructure because we didn't have those trees, the cost of like building that stormwater infrastructure, for example. But yeah, so that's some of the ways that they came up with those numbers. But yeah. Thank you,
Ms. Reed. And as a quick shout out to Catherine Kolb, I have now done 2 of her guided tours, and we just talk all things trees and flowers and plants and wildlife and soil. Who would have thought soil conversation would be so incredibly interesting?
Yeah, and important. She is amazing.
Yeah, she really is. And so, again, between you and her and so many other folks, thank you so much for
my pleasure
embracing the importance of our trees. I yield back.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Longspears, and again, thank you so much, Ms. Reed. Just a couple of quick questions. Being one of the newer commissioners here on the Board of Commissioners, or with the Board of Commissioners here, just trying to better understand essentially, the function and from an operational standpoint, and the contribution as a whole. And so I think it's innate in that, trees, right? But particularly when it comes to, implementing, as we're being asked to do, this particular study by Urban Tree Canopy. So I'm seeing just a number of things in terms of just looking at the recommendations for the Board of Commissioners for us to really consider. I'm not certain what slide that's on, but just looking at the resolution in and of itself. First, I want to better understand what is the LiDAR technology that's under the continued assessment and data collection. So can you tell us what that technology is?
Yes. So that stands for light detection and ranging. And basically, it's a technology that uses laser pulses to measure distance. And from that technology, you can create precise 3D models of environments.
Okay. All right. And so do we have a cost for incorporating it into DeKalb County?
No, I don't have costs associated with any of these things. I haven't gotten quotes on any of that. But that kind of technology is something that I think we might be able to do, at least somewhat, internally with our GIS team.
Thank you. I appreciate it. No, because this is where it's asking specifically for us to adopt that the assessment and the recommendations. That's one of the recommendations is to incorporate it. So okay, I'm not certain they have. Yeah, I just wanted to first understand what it is, and I guess we'll figure out whether or not that's something that's a capacity under GIS presently. But to the extent there's an arm that would help, then maybe it's already incorporated and we just need to make some modifications. So thank you, and I look forward to finding that out or getting some answers on there. Also, I have a question when it comes to the policy and planning actions, and particularly where Urban Tree Canopy will be looking to actually set planning and canopy coverage goals. I want to know just what are the thoughts in terms of working with the DeKalb Planning and Sustainability, especially since another item here listed in terms of the policy and planning actions would be land acquisitions. So can you speak to how you would expect to work with planning and sustainability?
Sure. Actually, our new arborist, David Lee Bradford, is here, and we have discussed this somewhat. And I don't know, David, if you want to come up and David has some ideas on this, and also around the idea of developing a comprehensive tree management program.
Okay,
You want to
thank you.
mention some of the ideas that you have in that regard?
So currently, I've been involved with several requests from the public to look at properties we already have in DeKalb County. I think they were either through FEMA or property tax acquisitions, where we currently own residential land or different types of land throughout the county that are currently in our possession that could be managed in perpetuity, and to bring up the invasive species and things like that, do better maintenance on those to also decrease the liability of maintaining those properties in perpetuity. And there's also the opportunity to convert some of these locations into pocket parks and other county parks and different type of use spaces that would maintain a majority of that canopy in perpetuity in a healthier state than than the way they currently are, because leaving them to the invasive species and the vines tends to degrade them over time.
Okay. I appreciate that. So to that end, Mr. Lee, had there been talks, because you mentioned Parks and Rec and pocket parks and acquisition of properties from the property taxes. Had there been any discussions presently with Parks and Rec?
So that would be something we would need to coordinate with our Recreation and Parks Department, because if we do turn these into pocket parks, they would need to be maintained. And so, yeah, that would be part of the overall planning process, is trying to figure out who's going to have responsibility for maintaining those properties moving forward.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And so in terms of investing in staff training and certification, I'm presuming, is that, because the suggestion here is policy and planning action, so that would be something that would be coming from the DeKalb County Governing Authority. So can you speak to some of the training and certifications that you would like for us to actually be able to support, so that your staff could get training, additional training?
So there's various levels of training from different organizations that offer specialized training in different aspects of the work we do for the departments that either are impacted or impact trees. So for the International Society of Arboriculture, for instance, there's a municipal specialist, there's utility specialist trainings. I'm a certified arborist. I'm a tree risk assessment qualified. So that allows me to assess tree risk for trees and how they might impact infrastructure and the people within the county. There's also different levels of ongoing continuing education training that are just base level that would benefit like our Parks Department staff and things like that. So these trainings are low cost, and they offer a very high value of insight into proper management of these assets. So I think they're a good investment.
You have to help me out. I'm a little confused when you're saying "our." Are you talking about canopy, urban tree canopy? Are you talking about DeKalb County? I'm a little confused when you're saying "our." Which "our" are we talking about?
The tree canopy, the trees themselves.
Got it. All right, cool. I just want to make sure I'm following here as you're answering the questions, and I appreciate you doing so. The other piece to it is, and I'm just looking it up, and again, one of the newer commissioners, so did a little research. I do want to say that, because I heard Ms. Reed speak to the green community, and being able to get that designation, and apparently we from ARC, we've had that designation and still maintain it now as of 2025. So I think that's a great thing that we have been recognized in that step. But then also looked up the Tree City designation, particularly to see what counties in Georgia have that designation. And as you can imagine, I see cities, but I'm not seeing any counties. But I'm glad that we're not precluded from participating in that end. But yeah, with the green community, apparently we are a gold, and Decatur, which is in the city, I mean, is in the county, within the county, is a platinum. So that's great to hear and to realize. All right, well, I think that's it for my questions. I guess the only other thing this is Mr. COO could answer in terms of what we presently have in place, whether it's through planning, sustainability, parks and rec, or anything that does take into consideration, just our care and concerns for trees, because clearly we're doing well, in that you're saying there's been an increase. We continue to be on the Green Community, award through ARC, and so it doesn't seem like we're doing half bad here. So what are your thoughts there in terms of what we have in place, and, as it relates to any additional, the recommendations that are presented here? Is there a position on that?
Right. So what I would just say broadly is the county has historically done a lot in the area of sustainability in our green initiatives. As Ms. Reed, how long? About 4 years by now?
I've been here 2.
No, 2 years. It seems like 4 years.
Feels like 4
right,
years.
Feels like 4 years. But yes, with the welcoming of Ms. Reed and Gordon Kinna and others, I mean, we've continued to build and rebuild and get stronger. We had a period, as you know, where we didn't have the number of arborists that we hoped, and we're proud to be bringing more on. So our intent, and the CEO has talked a lot about this, is to continue to claim a rightful space as it relates to sustainability, continue to implement strategies that promote sustainability. So, I mean, we're definitely supportive of the work that has been done, but we want to do more and even kind of heighten the profile of this whole area.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. And thank you so much for answering my questions. Commissioner Patrick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I remember having a conversation with previous CEOs, and I forget which one, but I think it was mentioned that I did forget. But I thought that we had achieved Tree City designation some time ago. Is there a way that you can verify or do maybe a search throughout our agendas to see if that's a fact or not?
We have, yeah,
okay.
Right on the website. That's why I was jumping on the websites. We have, yeah.
Okay.
It's 2023, yeah.
Okay. All right. And I guess when it comes to with the arborist being here, it's great to have you here. If there was an opportunity to look at maybe some areas in the county where there's a group of trees that might need to be removed, if that's an opportunity to have maybe you guys go out and take a look at and confirm if they are in fact diseased or dying, is that a function that we would typically do? These are for particularly in the right-of-way, not private property, but right-of-way.
Yes, sir. So I'm currently assisting all the departments, roads and drainage, watershed, parks, with any type of tree-related issue that I can help with.
Perfect. Okay. And then I get, Kathy, you're working with Trees Atlanta for replanting in the February timeframe, I suspect. Maybe.
Yes.
Possibly.
I mean, the planting season is now until April.
Okay.
So,
perfect. I have a suggestion, and I'll email it over to you guys, and have hopefully you guys take a look at it for me.
Okay.
Thank you, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Patrick. With no other questions, I will I'm open to a motion.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to make kind of a detailed motion that I think hopefully will kind of keep us on track because, Madam Chair, in the resolution there's a lot of things that we want to do. I know some might be sort of short and long term, but let me know if this sounds good, just to kind of keep things moving. So the motion is to recommend approval of the study and adopting the recommendations with the priority to be on one, updating the tree bank language that would specify that developers could give dollars to the tree bank that can then be used not just for tree planting but also purchasing land. That is, in essence, conservation strategy. And what was the other recommendation that you had mentioned, Kathy? It was the tree city designation.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that we can pursue right away.
Correct.
Okay, so the tree city designation, which I think obviously would have a lot of these things in there. And then to Commissioner Messiah's point, for the administration to provide that LiDAR, like more detail on the LiDAR technology. Do we have to spend more money? Do we already have it? But if we need to incorporate more LiDAR technology across the departments with the arborists, whatever it may be, let's just make sure we understand that. So those things seem like the top things that we could work on right away. And then obviously with the zoning update, there might be more broader tree ordinance revisions through that process. Kathy, did I capture the top recommendations?
I'm
I'm missing
looking at
something?
our little thing here, just making sure. Yes, correct. Well, basically, the urgent thing is evaluating our ordinances and land use regulations, which would include the resolution to form the tree bank. That would be one of the things.
Okay.
So we can look at all of those things. But I think it would also include the tree ordinance and zoning update and all of those things, which I think are going to be happening in 2026.
Okay.
But
Yeah. Oh, good. So we can start those right away.
yeah.
Okay, great. So that's the rest of my motion is what Kathy said.
Second.
Well, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to mess up the process, but also developing a tree management program.
So moved.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
All right, having a proper
job.
first and second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, and then I'm just going to be able to want to follow up with you guys and the administration, Parks and Rec, Planning, Sustainability, just in and around understanding the relationship and the dynamics. And it sounds like, we should have had Mr. Lee here, a while ago directly, but just trying to understand more of the details and how this all works. So thank you so much for your time and being here with us today.
I'd love to meet with you on that.
Thank you.
So thank you all so much, and for all your great questions
Thank you.
and comments.
All right, thank you so much. The next item on the agenda, for those following along, we are on page 2, going midway. This agenda item ending in 1657, all commission districts contract with Frontline Response to provide unhoused assistance services to homeless citizens of the DeKalb County by providing emergency temporary housing shelters with wraparound services and to provide permanent supportive housing transition services for an amount not to exceed $570,000. Great afternoon, Director Mitchell and Terry. Doing it today.
So, good afternoon, Commissioners. The intent of this legislation is to enter into a contract with Frontline to provide emergency temporary housing, aka shelter, for the DeKalb County. By way of background, we've not, in my tenure, and I've been here over 21 years, had a large shelter in DeKalb County. We've had a small shelter with Decatur Carpenter Ministries, which only houses about 5 to 7 families, which is downtown Decatur. We actually use shelters outside DeKalb County. We use Salvation Army shelters, Red Shield, Our House, Rebecca's Tent, Nicholas House, and we have a capacity of about 134 beds across those shelters, but they're all in the city of Atlanta. And we have over 600 individuals on our waiting list. So there's a dying need, a passionate need for shelter space. So this presentation today will take you through a proposal that the administration would like to have you approve to enter a contract with Frontline to provide a one-year contract to allow individuals to stay at least 90 days at the facilities you're going to see in a couple of seconds, to work on positioning all those individuals to go into permanent supportive housing. So it's, in essence, the shelter concept with wraparound services. So with that, I'll proceed through. And I've got Mr. Terry Tucker with me, who's the CEO and head of Frontline, in event there are questions. But the agenda item, which is 2025-1657, covers the two facets. Earlier, we talked about the warming center, and as you know, we disengaged this proposal from the learning centers. So specifically, it's an emergency temporary housing for over 400 beds. It's a fairly large number. It's transportation, which I'll get into later. Also, facets with food. Oh, by the way, Commissioner Long-Spears, Cisco is a company that is used to obtain food for Frontline. Cisco, a real reputable company, and we have not had complaints. I thought I'd throw that in as a follow-up from our prior meeting. The other items would be to provide outreach services to public safety, and I explained that further. And the second major component is a small component, but very significant. It's called permanent supportive housing transitional services. What does that mean? That means that there's permanent supportive housing, but Frontline would be able to engage providing furniture and transitional services to get individuals into permanent supportive housing. And the total amount for this award would be $570,000, and it's for a one-year contract. The elements of cost are here. It's $55,000 for the second item, very significant but minor in cost for the permanent housing transitional services, and I get into further details later. And also the emergency temporary housing is about $515,000, totaling to $570,000. If you add the previous approval for warming centers and the $570,000, you'll get back to the original legislation we had for $990,000, which is the total amount we had envisioned giving Frontline. The next item would be a graphic which will explain in a net version what we're trying to do. If you look at the locations, only for the shelter, it's Frontline, it's Peace Baptist, and it's Golden Door. Those are the three locations where we have over 400 beds available to be used for emergency shelter, again for 90 days and a one-year contract. However, if you look to the right, there are services that Frontline plans to provide, which are the housing, coordinated entry, which is a key component within the Community Development Department, will be the referral agent where individuals calling 404-687-3500 will be able to be referred to the shelter beds that will be preserved at Frontline. Also, meals provided by Frontline, the source is Cisco. In addition, transportation. What's key here is that the individual will be allowed to go to medical, behavioral health, job interviews, etc. And that's a good thing to the extent we have people housed for 90 days and give them access to all those services. Follow on after that, there are other wraparound services. And also, there's a lot of case management that's going to be provided with a number of case managers. The last thing, which is very important, is an emergency component, which has to do with support to public safety. So our public safety entities and the jail, the sheriff's organization, and also police tend to call on Frontline to provide emergency services at weird hours of the night for people that are out. And they actually do outreach, prevention, rescue, and relocation based on recommendations from public safety. And that's part of this contract as well, which is very important. The locations, in case you haven't been some of these, I know you've seen some of them, but Frontline is up in the left-hand corner. That's a photograph. They're doing renovations currently as we speak. That's not the way the building's going to look like when Terry finishes renovations. Also, we have Peace Baptist, which is on Covington Highway. It's a fairly large facility. The Golden Door has a facility which has got 2 stories. The front entrance is at the top, and the lower entrance offers a lot of capacity to aid as well. When I get into the next topic, which is the $55,000 component, is in essence, we're going to use Golden Door to house individuals. Frontline has a contract with Golden Door to provide case management, which the county is not paying for. However, they plan to assist us with individuals that are recommended to get permanent supportive housing. And those permanent supportive housing individuals could come from almost any place. They could come from community development, they could come from churches, they could come from various entities within the county, but they will provide that assistance. However, the key component is that individuals moving into permanent supportive housing will need furniture, transportation, etc., to be able to get settled into those facilities. That hotel was A to B years ago. We shut that down, but the developer, Golden Door, is renovating that property, and in 2026, it plans to come online with over 200 units to be used for permanent supportive housing. So you actually have to pay to go there, and the fee structure has not been set up yet for Golden Door, but we do have access to over 200 beds there, and we plan to use Frontline along with community development to be able to make people refer to that entity. So, in essence, this proposal is being consolidated amongst entities within the county. It's obviously Frontline, Community Development, the Chief Housing Officer, Alan Ferguson, as well as the Zach's office, and a nonprofit that you might be familiar with called the Same House. So it's basically a comprehensive, collective, and integrated proposal to bring on something we haven't had before in DeKalb, which is a shelter concept to help our homeless individuals. So with that, we'll take questions. Terry and I will take questions that you might have.
Yes, Commissioner. Well, I just want to start by saying I'm just appreciative of us actually considering the shelter concept in DeKalb County. I think it is very much needed and has been long needed for some time. Very earlier in my career as a commissioner, had the opportunity, of course, to speak to Director Mitchell and to speak to yourself, Terry, as well, just in terms of what is needed, where there's just some areas of opportunity and has been for some time for us here in the county. So, now, along with Dr. Ferguson, being on board, and several others who have worked to make this a reality, I'm just thankful that we are taking more of a step and making it more of a priority, particularly ahead of the World Cup that's going to be coming, the Super Bowl, and who else knows what's to come. And inevitably, when events like that happen, it draws people to particular areas, and then sometimes people's dreams are a bit deflated, or there's a bit of an obstacle, and they found themselves unhoused for different reasons and under different circumstances. So, long-winded way of saying, I can see very easily there even being an increase in the need to come. And then the other thing is, with the proximity just being right here with the World Cup, what happens also is a lot of times some of the unhoused from other counties, other areas, will migrate to particular areas with DeKalb County, and as Director Mitchell has mentioned before, the attractiveness of DeKalb County, and Dr. Ferguson has spoke to this as well, the attractiveness of DeKalb County. So it just lends itself to some additional challenges with the unhoused and needing a number of different opportunities and services to satisfy the needs of our residents, and you guys are doing that by moving forward this shelter. So thank you so much for that. With that, I yield Commissioner Terry. I'm sorry, who's first? Commissioner Terry.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, so I think we're good in terms of Frontline being a location, because that's been in existence for several years now. And I know Peace Baptist Church has been in communication discussions with everyone on the sheet there. And then Golden Door is new. I don't think I'd heard of Golden Door before, but this is the extended stay hotel that's just basically across sort of catty corner from the South DeKalb Mall.
Yes.
Okay.
It was A to B before. It was A to B.
Okay, and do we control the property?
No, we do not.
Okay,
it's owned by the developer. Golden Door owns the property.
Okay.
And that's the name of the entity, Golden Door.
Okay, so basically it is a fully functioning hotel, I guess.
No, it was a hotel that we shut down with our
Shut it down.
multi-family task force, hotel motel task force, and then the owner would just replace. We relocated all the individuals that were there, and so he's redeveloping the property today.
Redeveloping it, you mean like just like renovating it, like the
Yes.
rooms and stuff?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So are the 200 permanent supportive housing units already renovated?
So we just, within the last 2 weeks, probably 3 weeks, got the permit to completely renovate them and turn them into permanent supportive housing units, as opposed to hotel units. The front building that he showed, which is the conference center, that is operating, and that's what we're using now for warming center.
Okay, just the open space.
Yeah.
So it's an event hall,
It's
but
a
really
event
it's
hall.
just
The back part is the 200 units that'll start coming online in January. That renovation has begun.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so in terms of working with the developer to do these renovations, is part of that renovation contingent on this contract?
No, that's
be able to
going.
rent them?
It was actually the other way around. They were able to purchase this property because of our involvement. And so we're not having to contribute anything to that purchase. That has already happened.
Okay, well, but who's paying for the 200 units?
That's Golden Door. Golden
But who's
Door.
paying Golden Door for us to use the 200 units?
Golden Door is the company that bought the property,
Okay, and Golden Door,
contracted with us to manage the property and do the wraparound services.
understand. Okay, so I guess here's the main thing. If an individual comes to a warming center, they're determined to be a good candidate for permanent supportive housing, we refer them to Golden Door.
No, you can refer them to us.
Okay, but then, so once they're referred to y'all and then y'all place them at Golden Door, how do we pay for that ongoing cost?
Just it would be like any other affordable situation. It could be in the terms of a voucher. It could be in the terms of a sponsorship from a church. It would be, so let's just assume if they set the rent price at $900, it would be, we would help them with the deposit, but then they would be responsible going forward just like any other affordable housing unit.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. I think we need a little bit more detail on that because that sounds like a lot more things involved in terms of how do we actually
Commissioner, the way I understand is
subsidize
that we currently place people every day at permanent supportive housing. Just happens to be one location out of many that we use. And if I'm going to place someone there, I need to come up with the cost to assist them, which is previous rent or going forward. We make accommodations for individuals. So and it's typically subsidized, but permanent supportive housing says that you can give them an apartment someplace or in a home. But that goes on. Whoever provides you there has to pay the cost. So Golden Door would actually receive income from allowing individuals to be able to use their facility for permanent supportive housing. So the placer of the entity that's going to place someone there has to pay the cost for that individual to stay there. It could be part of their income, or it could be subsidized otherwise. That's how
all right,
permanent
so
supportive
basically
housing
it
works.
just depends on what the individual client has the ability. You're going to give them a range of options. Some might be housing vouchers.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I think the strategy in the past has been that permanent supportive housing units were sort of spread out across complexes. This is the first time that we're having one location with 200 individuals, potentially maybe more, but units on one location. So what is the strategy for ongoing service at this site? Because I imagine it will be a hodgepodge of different issues. There might be some that are disabled, have visits with Claritel. There might be elderly. So I guess all I'm trying to say is like this, getting into this business is that's a big step for us. So I think it'd be good if we just kind of had a bigger forecast of how we go from renovating these 200 units, or I guess y'all are or they're doing it, and then how we're placing them, kind of what that progression tree looks like. Because I imagine this is going to be a multi-year endeavor.
For us to manage the property, for sure, absolutely, and so we don't have a issue providing that, and so. But the big thing is to make sure that we can actually control who goes in the unit and who doesn't go in the unit. Okay. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be all, But what our goal is to make sure that anybody that's coming through that pipeline, they have a place to be based on, regardless of what their credit or their income situation is. And that for us is really the bigger win in the situation.
Okay, understood. And then for Peace Baptist, is that just a warming center? Or is that
That
gonna
is
be,
just a warming center. That is not.
Okay, so nothing's being done in
nothing's
Peace
being
Baptist?
done with Peace Baptist.
Okay. And the only thing I did pass out, commissioners, that I emailed about was the Flowing with Blessings.
They're going to be a partner.
Okay, good. So that would be my suggestion, because I know they're already...
We have two shower partners. One is Hope for Soap, and then Flowing with Blessings will be another. Hope for Soap have just been with us for a long time.
Okay.
And so we'll keep using those guys, but we will use Flowing with Blessings as kind of another partner to be able to use at other locations if we need them.
Okay. Well, and maybe that's what, because I met with them and they gave me kind of an a la carte menu of what it costs to do a day with staff, hygiene items, socks, running the shower operation, running the laundry, and I mean, they're very reasonable prices. So is this something that, because I got the impression that they could do more services and maybe they're only doing sort of occasionally in DeKalb County or maybe on call, but how could we have a more regular program that's built into everything that you're proposing here?
So it's obviously, for me, it's just a matter of the budget. So for us, for example, Hope for Soap provides everything that you talked about there, and they do it for us for free. Okay. And so when they come, they bring clothing, they bring towels, they bring all the stuff. And but we're also a food partner of them. So we give them food from Trader Joe's, so they come out and service our things. Okay. Now, if we were to add a partner, we can, because we have multiple locations. It may be that if they're coming to Gresham, we can have Flowing with Blessings going to another location.
Right.
So we'll want to look at it, but we just want to make sure that from a budgetary perspective, going from zero cost into some cost, it just makes sense.
Okay. Well, Madam Chair, I would suggest that if we move forward with this agenda item, that we just ask the teams here that are all listed and Mr. Tucker and Mr. Mitchell to come up with just some general estimates for how many additional days and locations that would cover us, I guess, really through all of 2026.
Okay, I was going to ask the question, was this for warming center that you were looking at or for the whole year?
I mean, I guess because we're
going into
it's sort of both and, because we're near the end of the budget cycle. So, I mean, whatever we can do this year, but I would argue it's just something we should have in our repertoire.
Yeah, this goes through next year.
Okay, yeah, so whether it's warming center or just with this proposal in particular, just add it to our service portfolio, if you will. And I think the way it works, it's on demand.
The Cowboys need these guys.
Just help them out of the way, Zach. But that was the idea, is just like if we could have additional shower laundry capacity as needed, if y'all could come up with an estimate, and if we could just add that to the budget, amount not to exceed, obviously. So it's just something that, we figure out estimate. Do we need 20 days, 30 days, throughout the year, just whatever makes sense?
Once a week, it'll be a minimum, probably.
Once a week. Okay. So if y'all could estimate that, I'd love to include that in the discussion.
No problem.
I'll yield back. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Terry. Yes, just making sure, Mr. Tucker, Terry, that we keep it, separate, because I want to make sure, since we bifurcate it,
this is for
I want to make sure it doesn't come into any conflict and there is no confusion as to what we're talking about specifically when we're dealing with it. So, the warming and cooling centers, that's something separate, whereas this, as it relates to trying to provide more of that emergency and temporary housing and what's being afforded and provided by Frontline in partnership with some great other folks, including the same house, just to have their participation in it, I think is amazing. So, but yes, let's make sure when we're providing the numbers, we keep it separate. That way there's not any confusion there. And with that, Commissioner Long-Spears.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Hello, CEO Tucker. Thank you so much for being with us today. Certainly always good to see Director Mitchell, who caught me over lunch with responding to some of my questions. I was making notes throughout your presentation, so I will go ahead and dive in. My first question is, what is the proposed start date and duration of this contract? I don't see that in the item itself or in the attachment that you gave us.
we would have to initially get with law and purchasing to start the contract. It'd be almost to me, as soon as we can get with law and work it out, and that date will be stamped based on ability to get through law and purchasing. So
Okay, so
it's a high priority, and Zach's going to help us with. Obviously, those staffs are busy, but we're going to try to make it a priority to get the contract through.
the reason I asked the question is under recommendation, there is a typo in here, by the way, but the very last sentence is authorize the chief executive officer 120 execute all necessary documents. So I assume that means 120 days, which would be roughly 4 months. And
Yeah.
you have listed in here 2025, 2026. Well, that by all means takes us into 2026 with a 120-day execution.
Really quick, I think that's a typo, the 120. But what we're looking to do is start. Yeah, I don't see that.
I don't see
here.
that. It's not.
It's actually in the agenda item that
Yeah, so we're looking
Mr.
to
Zach Williams provided.
Yeah, we're looking to start this contract as quickly as possible, and it would go through 2026. So it would end December of 2026.
Okay, so
But
you
the
will correct the item then.
The documentation says, and authorize the chief executive officer to execute all necessary document. It doesn't say anything about 120.
It does on my end. Would you like to come see it? Seriously, I'm not lying if
I
that's
believe-
what you are submitting to me. It says, and authorize the chief executive officer 120 execute all necessary documents. I think he's acknowledged it's an error in the agenda item.
We will fix it.
Okay, all right, so you're then submitting to us that this is December 1st through November 30th of next year, correct? Or 2026, or the end of next year?
The end of next year.
So through 12/31, okay. So we're looking at 13 months. Okay, thank you. My next question is, well, just a comment that $570,000 for 13 months seems incredibly ambitious. I mean, from what you've outlined in your proposal today. Again, these are the two documents that I have to review. It's a total of about 5 pages for this proposal. My next question is, let's see, let's go back to this one. So for the 400 beds for the emergency temporary housing with wraparound services, is this considered low barrier where it's grounded in the Housing First model, or is there a requirement you don't show up necessarily as you are?
You can show up as you are,
Okay.
And we will work with you if you have some substances that are going on, but you have to maintain the civility of the environment. So as long as you are maintaining the civility of the environment, we can work with you as you are working with behavioral health or if you're working with substance use disorders. But if you do have an issue, we can require you to be able to get assistance.
Okay. So would that be considered medium barrier?
No, it's low barrier.
Still considered low
It's
barrier
still
with
considered low barrier because you
expectations.
can have access. You can come in. So for 7 days, you can come in, and then we can assess where you are to get you a more long-term plan for those 90 days.
Okay. All right. And so you threw me the ball again for that one. So your behavioral health services that you'll be providing, so both mental health and for substance use, have you determined, and do you have a partnership already, a contract with a partner to provide the services?
We have partners, but for this location, we have an open space, and we will reach out to the partners that we already work with to see who'd be the best one to provide the on-site service.
Okay, so as of right now, you don't have a behavioral health partner, but you do have options of
We have
Claritel,
partners
Mercy Care.
Claritel, Mercy Care, and Grady are our 3 primary behavioral health partners that we currently work with. We haven't decided who we want to bring on the campus.
Okay, and if this contract will begin on December 1st, you will have that decision made prior to December 1st?
We could have that, as long as the individual or the company has capacity, we could have that decision before December 1st.
Okay, how do you pay them for services?
It's different. For example, like Mercy Care, it comes in part of their service because they're an FQHC, so they don't charge the client or us. Same way with Grady, they don't charge the client or us. They use either Medicaid, Medicare, or whatever the provider is.
Okay.
And so generally, they don't give a cost to either us or the client. And hopefully whoever we have on there will do the same thing. Now, if they need some supplies and things, we're more than happy to take care of those things to be on the campus. But from a service perspective, they don't bill us.
Now, I remember the tour of your facility last year, or earlier this year, and I remember, if I recall correctly, that you had a wing that you were going to allocate for some of the partners, such as your behavioral health partners, I guess medical doctors, other partners, so they actually have they're represented on campus. Is that still the case?
That was in the permitted plan that we got back, yes.
Okay, all right, I'm almost done. All right, my next question is number of bathrooms at the Gresham facility. I've heard rumors that there have been instances in the past where they both have been broken.
Well, our bathrooms are, when you say broken, they have
meaning there was nowhere to go to the bathroom.
Oh, that has never been the case.
Okay,
We
I'm
always
glad to
have
hear
bathrooms.
that.
Always have bathrooms. But when you say broken, we have to have them repaired. But currently, we have 7 toilets, and they are in construction now to make it 10 toilets and 9 showers.
Okay.
And one of those is a private bathroom for unisex, any type of situation where somebody needs a private bathroom.
Okay, all right. My next, I'm doing the best I can. Commissioner Terry took at least 10 minutes.
I mean,
that's
fine. I mean, if we could just wrap it up to
your audit.
Well, I know that we have another meeting, and I appreciate Commissioner Terry being willing to share some of his time. It's just some of the questions. I'm wondering if we can follow up online. I do want to get through the rest of my agenda. I've been very intentional to try to do so, particularly it's been a challenge, with that in the past. And as expected, we always go over when it comes to our Board of Commissioner meetings, and it always eats into, us having a late start in PECS. So, and it always then runs into FAB. So I just do want to be mindful to try to get through that. So if you could, and whatever.
I will wrap up the last question, and then I will make a motion.
Thank you.
Your audit. Well, the last audit I was able to find was 2022. Do you have an earlier audit, 2023?
2023 isn't being completed right now because of obviously the transition of leadership, but that's in process right now, 2023 and 2024.
When do you think it'll be complete?
Hopefully the review for 2023 will be done by the end of the month.
Okay.
And then they'll start on 2024.
So it's not a combined audit, there's separate financial audits?
Sometimes we're moving from a different company.
Okay.
So
okay.
That's why this is a separate one.
All right, very good. Well, I'll make a motion to defer item 1657 for 2 weeks.
Second, and just I think got a quick comment. Oh, put your mic on.
I'm sorry. It's just I know that we have, and again, this was all initially one agenda item. The administration agreed to bifurcate it so that we could have separate discussions related to it. However, just due to the nature of what we're dealing with, I know that there was some time challenges in trying to move this along. So it'd be great to be able to, identify, because some of the questions seem like they're questions that have been had before as it relates to frontline specifically, so that maybe we can go ahead and just, send those via email and have the administration and the COO, Mr. Tucker, and Director Mitchell to respond to those things.
My motion for deferral for 2 weeks still stands. We are out of time. I do have a lot more questions, but I'll be happy to prepare those questions and send them to Director Mitchell in writing.
Yes.
Yes, I'll second, and just I think my kind of other request this morning was to just set up a tour with Director Mitchell and Mr. Tucker for all the facilities that we've highlighted. I feel more comfortable just visiting the new ones and then the ones that we're working with, warming center and shelter for the next year. And then it sounds like because there's showers being contemplated at the frontline facility, the flowing with blessings might not be necessary, but I would like to get y'all's input on just having that as like a standby.
As an option.
If needed, like on-call support. So look forward to having that, and we'll reach out to Director Mitchell to coordinate. Thank you.
And I appreciate that, Commissioner Terry. With that, there's a proper first and a second. All those in favor? And just a very quick question. Mr. Tucker, as it relates to, you mentioned Claritel, Grady, and I forgot the third that was mentioned.
Mercy Care.
Mercy Care, I thought it was Mercy Care, okay. And so I know that Grady and Mercy Care, they don't charge us and they don't charge the client. Does Claritel?
They haven't charged us in the past, so I'm not sure if they have a different service if they are coming on site.
Okay.
But when we referred people to them in the past, there was not a charge. But I'm not sure if coming on site would change that.
Okay, all right, let's find that out offline. Can you send me an email just to answer that question? And then, my support's going to be for Grady, had a tour even just recently, and some updates in working with them and their capacity and their desire to get more involved in making sure that they're providing us the behavioral health services we need. So if you could follow up, and we follow up there offline, that'd be great. Thank you so much for you both for being here and answering our questions. Thank you so much and tackling this challenge.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving along, we have agenda item ending in 1523, all commission districts budget amendment to increase the general fund community development fully to fund and expand the street outreach team, ensuring all employees are full-time and entitled to the county's full benefits package, and to expand the street outreach team by 2 additional individuals. Commissioner Terry?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And I believe Director Mitchell was working on an update on the full outreach team sort of organizational chart. So I'd be willing to defer this for 2 weeks, just because unless you already have it ready to share on the outreach team, because I know you were looking at hiring some additional people, and some might not need benefits because they're retirees. So, but if it's going to be like a 10-minute conversation, I want to defer it.
I can give you an update. So in essence, we have 3 individuals.
3.
We have 1 individual that's supported by District 1, Commissioner Patrick.
Yes.
And that individual covers District 1. We also have Chauncey Taylor, who covers the entire county.
Yes.
We hired an individual. Lester is his last name. Both the District 1 community outreach individual and the new hire have benefits. Mr. Lester is a former Army retiree, and also Michael Asante is a former HUD employee of 30 years. He has benefits from HUD. The only individual we don't have benefits would be Chauncey Taylor. Chauncey has been a contractor for 6 years. And when I was directed to not have additional contractors, HR had me go make them temporary employees operating on a full-time basis. And so anyone like that does not have benefits. So the only issue we have is benefits for Mr. Taylor. Okay. So we have 3. 2 have benefits, 1 does not.
Okay. And were y'all planning on hiring a 4th person?
Funding-wise, I could not hire a 4th person. I'm handling 3 within federal budgets. So if there's help you can provide, we'll gladly take it.
Okay. Well, that's what this agenda item is for.
Okay.
So that was the request, Madam Chair, I was just very cognizant of there being enough coverage for all the districts, because District 1 has a full-time person. That's something that Commissioner Patrick, sort of did on his own, but I wanted to ensure that the rest of the county wasn't covering a large area and not having the capacity to do so. And then just because these are individuals that are out there sometimes at night, on the weekends, and difficult circumstances, that we just treat them as full employees in essence and provide benefits as we do for all full-time employees, which I believe Mr. Taylor is.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Long-Spears, my suggestion is going to be, if you don't mind, that we hold this in committee to discuss further, be able to vet it a bit more. But Commissioner Long-Spears, do you have something?
No. I know we're all trying to get through this agenda. If it's going to be deferred for 2 weeks, I'll just hold my questions.
Okay. So motion to defer, and if the administration could just come back with sort of the plan that Director Mitchell outlined, and hopefully it's okay that everyone that is an employee gets benefits, and we can work that out. But just, come back at the next meeting if you don't mind.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, we have a first. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. The next item is if those following along on page 2, the bottom, this agenda item ending in 1528, all commission districts to allocate an amount not to exceed $56,160 to Compassionate Atlanta to coordinate a living sculpture on Stone Mountain Trail and coordinate community workshop and programs, ultimately implementing a compassionate corridor from Clarkston to Scottdale. Commissioner Terry.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And so this is part of the work that District 4 and 6 are undertaking with the Parks and Rec Department to create the model mile of a trail system in DeKalb County. And so what you're seeing here is sort of a snapshot of the model mile. There's a lot more to it, I think. This looks like a small section. But this particular agenda item is one based on funding that we passed in March, which is under the CIP for the Stone Mountain Trail. So you'll see that $40,000 of this proposal is actually for the art installations, which is the actual CIP. And then the District 6 reserve will pay for the actual programming with Compassionate Atlanta as the fiscal sponsor, which in essence, if you look in the proposal, we'll do art walks, we'll do education sessions, 2 in the spring of 2026 and then fall of 2026, and then just a few more little activations. And if you're interested to see the artist that did the Heart of Mother Earth in Clarkston will be doing a similar themed sculpture called the Lungs of Mother Earth. And so you can see we're kind of creating a little bit of a theme along the trail, and there might be others in the future, but we're really excited about this, and of course want to bring it to PECS for any input and thoughts on this project.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Long-Spears.
No comments.
Thank you so much. Are we ready to move this, or are we just going to hold it in committee and just some reviewing to it?
Yes, if we can get it approved, because they would like to start, as the schedule says, in November, December. So we need to get going on the coordination design meetings, the partner gatherings, and then getting the education sessions drafted.
All right, and I did see the proposal as put forth. It is pretty extensive, so would you be amenable to deferring that for 2 weeks?
Well, if we defer for 2 weeks, we're actually deferring it until December because we don't have a meeting until...
What's our next?
Is it December?
We have one December 9th, if I'm not... Yeah, we have a meeting on December 9th, so...
Yeah, and that's the issue, is we need to... the reason why I wanted to get this approved today is so we could vote on it on the 18th, because part of the pre-work has to start happening. And the goal is to get the sculpture process going, because that's probably 3 or 4 months of work. And then hopefully the installation will be on timeline track for the mid-spring of next year.
I'm okay with approving out of committee today, and any follow-ups, like I did earlier, you could send to them prior to our meeting on the 18th?
Yeah, well, this is a little bit more in-depth in terms of we're bringing in an outside vendor to coordinate with different art projects. And again, this is something that it's a lot more involved than what we just presented that was bifurcated. So I don't think they're one and the same. I'm happy, of course, at any point to follow up with any emails as it relates to going through the details. We gave that considerable amount more time than we're actually giving this, under the respect for Commissioner Terry as well, wanting to at least be able to, in this committee, hear his agenda items, and then not to grossly even more encroach on his committee time for FAB.
So I will just say that we did reach out to Director Butler, and CO Williams was in that conversation. When it comes to selecting vendors, actually you're here too, sir. As it relates,
I was going to say we have Director Butler isn't able to be with us this afternoon.
Yes.
But
so Director Butler had in the past, because we've done several kind of art projects like this, the advice from procurement is that because art is I can't remember the terminology used, it's sort of a subjective thing. It doesn't go through the normal RFP process, because it's considered a special exemption, and so that's just news for all of us. Like, we all should, if we have artistic things, whether they're murals or sculptures or crosswalk art, things like that, it does not have to go through the normal process. And so, because part of this funding is for my discretionary funds, I just took it at liberty
Not an issue there, Commissioner Terry, and to your point, we're dealing with that right now, trying to clean up some graffiti in specific areas of my district, and to your point in terms of procurement, having conversations about how to move that forward. That's fine. Just ask if it will be amenable. Thank you so much. You want to restate your motion, and then I think you had a second on it.
Yes, I'll second the motion to approve. Is that what you said?
Sure, motion to approve.
Okay, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much. With the next agenda item, again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being amenable to stay through this process with us. We're almost done here. You want to defer next to them? All right.
You want to hold the rest of them in committee?
Yes, I was going to say that is really at this point where I am, is just holding the rest of these in committee and continuing them on. There's only 2 of them left, but again, they're Commissioner Terry's items, so to the extent that he's amenable and fine with them holding them and no time crunches there, then I will accept a motion, if you don't mind, please.
Motion to, you want a motion for holding in committee or a motion to adjourn?
We can just hold them in committee if we're not going to move them forward, but
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, again, for being a part of our PECS committee. When do you like to start your FAB, Commissioner Terry?
Yes, it's 4:08 now, so we will start, we'll give a 5-minute break for bio break, so 4:13.
Yeah, as we've been going since 9 o'clock this morning. Yes, thank you so much again, ladies and gentlemen. FAB to come up in 5 minutes.